We're joined by Australian Road Safety Foundation campaigner Nick Bell. Nick, now you have 30 years experience in responding to road trauma. Why do you think we're still seeing so many lives lost on our roads?
Well, it's very disappointing because these are willful acts, and I agree with what the police officers said just before. This really is about people making the right choices as they get in their cars. It starts and stops with us at the ignition key, and we have to make sure that we are in the right condition to drive a car. The authorities, we can't rely on governments and authorities and so on. They can only do so much. What we have to do is take full responsibility for ourselves. And when we abdicate that responsibility, we are, by definition, willfully putting ourselves and others at risk.
But why do you think the message just simply isn't getting through to some people?
Well, actually, I think it's a willful part on some drivers. They're saying that it can't happen to me. But when we look at statistics, what was it, 1,052 people passed away on our roads so far this year. Every one of those people, and I'm here to tell you that I've responded to so many car accidents. So many of those people started the day thinking they had a lot longer to live. And unfortunately, that was the day that they died. So regardless of anything, we're not understanding that it can happen to us. And I always do this thought experiment for people, and I say, think of the people that you love the most, those that are closest to you, with wives, husbands, brothers, sons, whatever the case may be, daughters. And think, if they were cruelly snatched away from you without hesitation and without any thought on the part of the drug driver and the speeding driver, then have a think how we would feel about that. And we too are somebody's loved one, and so we must take full responsibility every time we jump in the car. But I don't know why people aren't getting the message. Maybe there's some room there for stronger penalties. But certainly the police, the fire, the ambulance, governments, nurses, doctors can only do so much. It's about us preventing and being preventative about not arriving at the emergency room or the morgue.
Yeah, you're right. It is really a problem for the entire community. Now, with your experience as 30 years firefighting, you'd be able to tell us about the flow-on effects of all of these deadly crashes and how much they impact on lives.
Well, we can look at it two different ways. We certainly look at it from the first responders' point of view, and the last thing we want to do is go to a crash, and you're showing some vision there. And when we arrive there, the deep trauma that, of course, it causes us. Now, we signed up to do these jobs, and of course, we're there to defend and be on the front line for the community. But obviously, I come from the Northern Territory, the Northern Territory Police, Fire and Emergency Services, where it's a small community, and we knew people, and I responded to jobs where I actually knew people, and in fact knew them very, very well. And of course, you get on and do your job, but the flow-on effect is brutal. And I know the families, and I know the fallout effect, and the crying and the trauma that it causes, and it never goes away. I've never seen anybody get over the death of their daughter or their son. I've never seen that. And when you go to these jobs, as the police, fire and ambulance do, and unfortunately, you put a child inside a body bag, that stays with you for life. And we don't want to do that. We want to go to birthdays, not funerals.
Of course, it is just devastating. Now, recent research shows that you are at a high risk now of being hit by a drug driver as opposed to a drink driver. Do those figures shock you?
Well, they do and they don't. I'm shocked but not surprised. And it would seem that I don't have a position really on it. People can do what they want to do in their own time. But the moment you jump into your vehicle, you are now putting yourself and others at risk. And this is just out of control at the moment, what I'm seeing. And it's these statistics only tell part of the story. What about the families? What about the first responders? What about the people? If you and I've been to so many, responded to so many accidents where the drivers have actually lived but killed the passengers, and just the devastation there. So the drugs is something that we will need to address, but once again, I really say to people, this is a partnership. It always was and it always will be a partnership with us as drivers and road users and the government and the authorities and the police and the fire and the ambulance. We're there to respond to, where people bleed, scream, cry and die. And of course, and that's part of our job and it's deeply distressing. But you don't want to see what I have seen. You do not want to experience that. You don't want to smell, you don't want to hear it. It is, you do not want this to happen to one of your family members. And I always tell people, make it about the children. Think about children. The moment you jump into your car, even if you're on your own, you've got your key in the car, just say, hang on a second, how will I feel if the actions I take today result in a deceased child? And we really need to hit home and start pulling at the heartstrings a bit there. I know it does, but make it about children and saying, you know what, I can make a better choice than this today.